the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
We'll go now to Jay, who just actually walked in the door in Madison, Wisconsin. Good morning, Jay. Welcome.
Patrick, I have a question about dealing with relatives who are wonderful people, great people, who lately have told me that we start talking about abortion, and their response is my body, my choice. And so it's like, how do I, I mean, I have so many wonderful cousins and relatives who go to church, but when we have this conversation about politics, it's my body, my choice.
Yeah. It's a thought-stopping slogan. It's intended to not only shut you up, but it short-circuits the thinking process. So if they just say, my body, my choice, as if that settled it somehow, then they can stop thinking about it. Well, I mean, there are any number of things you could say. First thing you could point out is, well, if abortion were your body, your choice, then you'd be the one who's dead. It's not you who are dying. It's this unborn child who has a right to life, even if he or she is inconvenient to you. I mean, you have a right to life. This unborn child has a right to life. This unborn child is not your body. If this unborn child were not your body, then why do we harvest organs from it? Why do we, seek to get stuff from that entity in your body that you claim is your body? It's not your body. It's someone else's body. I mean, now they may rail and kick against that and not, not be willing to see it. But I mean, even if you just plant the seed in their minds, that is not your body. That is another body of another person in your body because of something you did, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and now that person is growing inside of you. But the very fact that you have this unborn child in you, it means you now have an obligation to take care of that child. It's inconvenient. Okay. You lose your bikini figure. Okay. You're inconvenienced for a time. Okay. Life goes on. And you just might find that you love this child with all your heart. And down the road, you'll be happy that you gave life to this child. It's a temporary problem at worst. I mean, I would talk about things like that because it just goes around this my body, my choice slogan that doesn't settle anything. And I know you know this, but just for the sake of people listening, it's just a slogan. It's not even really an argument. And I wonder if the same people you're talking about were adamant about people wearing masks during COVID and socially distancing 6 feet and all that rigmarole. Well, I mean, what about my body, my choice? You can ask them, you say, well, what about all the people who didn't want to get the shot? What about all the people who didn't want to wear a mask? My body, my choice, right? Well, they would have to say no. And they'd have to argue that for the greater good, for helping other people or not putting other people at risk, whether you wanted the shot or not, whether you wanted to wear the mask or not, by golly, you better wear it. You better get it. And then you could say, well, what about my body, my choice? In the whole point, Jay, I'll leave it at this. The whole point is you basically deconstruct this silly slogan in ways that they will see, even if they don't admit it to you, they'll see that's just a dumb slogan. It doesn't mean anything. And perhaps that's the best you can do. And maybe over time they'll think about it more. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I agree. And I'll keep praying for them, and hopefully they'll come around. But it's always about, when does life begin? And it just seems like there's different theories and different ideas about when life begins. And so
some people have a theory that the earth is flat. The scientific evidence is clear. It's crystal clear. It's quantifiable. It's observable that life begins at conception. That is a life that starts living at that moment. In fact, you can look this up and you'll find it on the YouTubes. There's now scientific observation that at the moment of conception, a bright light emanates from that single cell. When the fertilization takes place, in that moment, scientists have detected a flash of light. What is that? Why does it flash? What does that mean? We can't prove on the basis of that alone, but that further strengthens the scientific evidence that life begins at conception. And if they say, well, that's just a clump of cells, say, well, you're just a clump of cells. You just have more cells. Yeah. And that's what a human being looks like. A human being looks like a clump of cells at that stage of development. I mean, these are like so easy to swat down. I'll give you a resource, Jay. Live Action, headed up by Lila Rose. They have a wonderful outreach to help people talk about pro-life issues, in a smart way, in a way that's based in science and evidence, and it's effective. So check them out, liveaction.org. They can help. They have they have resources that you can avail yourself of.
Awesome. I appreciate it. One more thing, though. It's just hard for my heart to, deal with the thought that these people, go to church and still have that mentality. And why is the priest not coming out and preaching about it? Is it a little bit on the priest?
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
How would I know? How can I possibly know that? If the priest is doing what most priests do, at some point he will preach against abortion. Most priests do. Keep in mind that the priest only has this captive audience for about an hour once a week. And the preaching takes up between 8 and 10 minutes. So the window is pretty narrow. Right. And priests are supposed to preach on the readings. So if the readings are, if they lend themselves to that topic, sure, the priest can do that. But I would not blame the priest. These are grown-up people. They're smart. They can read. Yeah. They understand. But I have a feeling maybe somebody somewhere in there had an abortion or paid for an abortion or pressured someone to have an abortion, a woman, and their conscience is bothering them, consciences. And often, Jay, what happens is people who have a guilty conscience, they go in the other direction and try to justify what they did. And that's where a lot of the ferocity comes from. So, yeah,
sounds good. Well, I appreciate your time and you sharing your knowledge, and God bless you.
You're welcome, Jay. Thank you. And I pray for your witness to these family members to bear good fruit in due time, and that even though you may have to take a few lumps here and there, just stand your ground, speak the truth in love, and please God, these people will have a conversion. Wouldn't that be awesome? And then Jay can call us in 6 months and say, guess what? They're all pro-life now. Wouldn't that be great? Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.